Welcome to Maker's Bar. Today we have Arthmate, a new B2B fintech that provides solutions at the intersection of credit risk, technology, and data science. It's a plug and play platform, enables its partners to offer credit as an embedded capability without any lending infra setup at their end. Within 2 years of launch, Earthmate has gained 2 million customers, 70 plus partners, and has dispersed close to 2,000 crores worth of credit profitably. Earthmate was started by Ranjan Kant, who has 2 decades of experience across marquee consulting firms and successful startups. Ranjan has an undergrad from IIT Karagpur and an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. Welcome, Ranjan.
Hi Akshata, thanks for having me.
It's nice to have you as well, Ranjan. So let's just start it on the question. So can you tell me when did you get this idea of starting Earthmate and what inspired you to start the company?
So Akshata, I would love to say it was a blue streak and lightning, but unfortunately, most things in life are not like that. The way it happened was Ashneer Ashneer was my IIMA batchmate, Ashneer Grover, and my co-founder Vihan stays in the same complex as Ashneer. So this is September 20. We were sitting around, and Ashneer had, I think, Bharat Pay then had 3 million merchants on their platform, and Ashneer's worry was they were all taking credit from different sources, while he knew he had the best engagement with them through his whole QR code payment system. So his point was, guys, I know they need it. I know there is enough and more things to be done there, but I don't want to create a lending infra at my end because I'm very focused on the core payments platform I have built. So Vihan and I said that sounds like a good challenge to have. And while I was at BCG, Vihan went ahead and created this company to lend to Bharat Pay's merchants, and that's where the story started. And then I joined him after a while, and we have been together since.
So what does Earthmate do? I gave a whole jumbo before we started, mumbo jumbo
Correct.
before we started, but explain in simple words what Earthmate does.
So Akshata, we started from where we did, right? But as we scaled up, we figured out a couple of things about the Indian financial services ecosystem. One is there are a lot of players now solving the customer digital skin problem. People offer a great lending experience to end customers, payments experience, etc. There are a lot of people who are pushing cloud software, and cloud infra, but uh, the banks and large NBFCs are stuck with what you would call in Silicon Valley parlance tech debt, right? They have a huge legacy tech infrastructure, which was built with the right intent in mind, right? Branch banking, core banking, all of that was true and right at the time it was built, but that makes it very hard for them to be nimble to access MSME and individual segments. Makes it very hard, right? Because they need a certain set of documents, they need people to interact and all that, which in today's digital world, in today's Uber-led world, it has become quite difficult. So we figured out there is a huge opportunity for a embedded player to come in between, which can provide the right tech, right platform, and right decision making to banks and NBFCs to access the MSME and individual space. That's exactly what we do. We, on the right hand side, which is a demand side, we have over, as you graciously mentioned, over 70 partners sourcing customers for us. They can be payments providers, they can be fintechs, they can be large digital platforms, anybody who has an aggregate of customers and suppliers to deal with. That's my demand side. On the supply side, I have my own NBFC. Plus, I have got these banks and large NBFCs as co-lending partners, we become the money supply to these borrowers. That's what we do. In the middle, we have a tech platform with loan origination system, loan management system, risk engine, all kinds of APIs and services to enable lending. So the way it operates is a borrower lands on a partner's app, for example, the Bharat Pay app. They would press a button saying get loan here. The data will flow to me. I will underwrite the person, find the right co-lender, and the lending will happen. And all of this happens in a matter of minutes. That's the platform we have built, Akshata.
Actually, it's very interesting that you mentioned that you have an NBFC as well, because
Yeah.
otherwise, when you're a fintech, if you don't have an NBFC, then you are in a lot of trouble with RBI.
And what happens, Akshata, is a lot of people think building a tech pipe is all that it takes. But as you become an old head, you realize a tech pipe comes with a contract. So it there has to be a risk pricing. Who will do what? Who will underwrite, who will do the pricing decision. Leaving that up to the stakeholders makes it a imperfect marketplace. You can combine them, but they have to do their own deals, which is not a trivial task. And that's where having an NBFC enables me to do a risk sharing with my co-lender, and hence I can determine the nuances of the contract, so that the borrowers don't have to interact with the co-lenders, and the co-lenders don't have to go and interact with 2 million borrowers, right? That's where having an NBFC helps.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, this is a very regulated industry, right? And you had some background, and looks like your co-founder also had
Yes.
some background in regulations. So, what were like the challenges that you faced when you started this business? Like, it's very hard, like when you get into a regulated business,
So
regulated business rather.
actually, I think that is our moat. As you rightly said, regulations are not easy to deal with. So
Yeah.
it needs a certain mindset, which means you have to be always compliant, come what may. Right? For
Yeah.
example, the DLG guidelines. We were okay to shut down 9 of our partners who were not compliant. We were okay with it. We lost business, but that's where this whole push versus shove on growth versus compliance, being on the right side of doing things. A law is a law. You are doing a business in a country which has a certain set of laws, and you better follow them, right? That's where I think we have been able to stay true to that, and that's what has led to us growing profitably. As you would have understood from what I keep speaking, being a real business is very, very fundamentally important to us. So
Yeah.
Akshata, more than the challenge of regulation, right? The initial challenge was around getting talent. You have known me for a bit, Akshata. We are, I think, one of those people who like to enjoy silent success, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to be successful, but we find it very, very hard to go and talk about it. In the 80s and 90s, when I was born, being on the newspapers used to be this big thing which people, you were like, wow, this guy is on newspaper today. You can be on the newspaper just like that, right? But that's where the mental frame is, and hence it was initially quite tough to attract talent, because we were not screaming from the ramparts that we have raised funds, we are profitable and all that. So that was a difficult part, but yeah, we have gotten over that hump.
That is very interesting. So I am actually a very private person. Like because I like love my privacy so much that I cannot even say. So even I faced a very similar. I mean, even now I face it because I'm
Yeah.
not very vocal. I face something very similar often. Like people will ask me like, "Who are you? What are you?" kind of a thing, And I totally hear you when you said because of your lack of self propaganda, you couldn't hire talent. I've been there, so I totally get it. Anyways, how did you acquire your first investor? Considering you don't have the habit of taking a mic and talking to people, how did you first acquire your investors?
So we were very lucky, Akshata, with the Bharat Pay partnership. They also put in some money into it, and we were able to garner enough family and friends to back us. That's how we started. We have been raising a convertible debenture round, wherein we have again we have gone to HNIs and family offices. It has been a lot of hard work going to meet people, but I think when you meet serious people like HNIs and family offices who don't run after vanity metrics and have set up businesses themselves, it's a if you get an audience, it's then up to you to convince them to see the value in your business. And thank God we have been able to convince quite a few of them, and that's how we have raised our investments.
Yeah. And also, I think your pedigree is amazing, so that kind of speaks for itself.
Thank you for
How how what is like the most satisfying moment and
yeah.
of starting this business? I know you've been around for like 3 years now, and you guys have achieved quite a bit of metrics. But what was the most satisfying moment?
So Akshata, I would actually give a very different answer than what you must have heard on the show, and excuse me for that. I think when I started Akshata, I am from BCG, right? So it was easy to at least get some BCG folks to look at us, to join us, to be with us on the journey. But people from LinkedIn, Meta, Google, all the stalwart tech first companies, right? We could not get anybody from there. Two people from Meta have joined us as marketing guys just now, VP marketing and AVP marketing, and that has been the most satisfying moment, right? That people now from Meta and Google also give us a dekho, and they send us their CVs that they are willing to be a partner in our journey. That I think
I
is
have to
tops
say,
everything
now the news in the market is people don't want to hire people from Meta. So
this happened before, not after.
maybe getting those Meta people was not the best thing for you. So they have high expectations. That's what I hear
Yeah, I agree.
from their employers. So, anyways, so what are the key values that your company represents, and how do you ensure that they are upheld? And having a culture at a very early on is very kind of important. I
Yeah,
personally feel, and
yeah.
setting the tone. So,
Yes.
how are you doing that?
So again, Akshata, having a BCG background and having been in startups for now 2013, 10 years now, right? So I have obviously seen the Amazon list of values and everybody else, right? So it's always a struggle, and I'm a very plain spoken person. I am not able to. I'm not a great storyteller. I'm a great gup guy, right? If you meet me over drinks, that will be fun. But I'm not a storyteller. I can't sell a story. I'm not that guy. So we have very pragmatic set of values actually. So
Yeah.
our first value, which is very simple, is nobody is just a manager in the company. Everybody has to make some individual contribution. So, for example, I write code, right? My co-founder does his own meeting notes and stuff like that. My CTO, CPO write code. People make their own slides. So somewhere we have a culture where we push every leader to do something on their own. It can be as simple as going for a customer visit, to as complicated as writing code. Your choice, but you just can't be a manager in the company. That is super fundamentally important to me after my years in startups, right? So that's one.
So
uh,
no management layer at all.
no, no. So obviously there is a hierarchy and people report to people, but nobody can just say, oh, you have given me this job, somebody else will do it. That's not how we don't take that line down. Everybody has to contribute something on their own. Some content has to come out of them, right?
Yeah.
So that's one. Second is obviously the usual GAN of tech digital first. We are just a 200% company. So whatever problem we come up with, the idea is, if tech and digital can solve it, we won't hire for it. So we make hiring really tough for leaders. They have to, there is a word, they have to go through a real muck to be able to hire one extra person. They have to really justify to me or one of their peers why do they need that extra person, and that becomes a very very hard thing to justify if people haven't thought through it. So that's the second bar, right? The third thing we do is, our core is to stay embedded, Akshata, right? So we don't want to be a customer facing, entirely customer facing operation. So the core is embedded, which means partnerships. So
Yeah.
so just like Amazon's mantra is customer centric experience, ours is every partner of ours should make money with us. We will never take away a money pie where ideally the partner should get share. That's very very fundamentally important to us. I make money, my partner should make money. That's the very important construct which is across the company. And the last one is quite simple. I think just very brutally frank culture. I think we encourage dissent completely, and we we have arguments, it's completely all right. People who don't have arguments, then they get to so no yes meaning. That's the ideal, right? But we try to live up to that. Those are the simple things we try to palm off as culture in our
It's
startup.
funny you talked about like trying to have flat structure as much as possible. I read recently that OpenAI doesn't have like managers, and I
Yeah.
was like wondering how that kind of works. You know, how do they handle reporting and things like that? So I think that's fair, right? I mean, if startups can work like that and people can be accountable, that's amazing, I would say. So obviously, Ranjan, you've been in the startup world for, like, as you mentioned, for 10 years, and you've been a consultant. I'm also an ex-consultant, and obviously, consulting was also is very close to actually a startup, I would say. That's because of the number of what do you call it, variables that we handle in the consulting world, because you don't know what the client is thinking, right? And so you might have doubts, you might have had your own how do I call it, how did you handle, like, when you face like an adversity or a doubt, and you said, okay, this is not going to happen, and I'm sure fundraising is one of them, but there'll be other things as well, because it's not just fundraising alone, I would say. So
Yeah. So Akshata, the primary difference between consulting and startup is, especially if you're a founder,
yeah.
the buck stops at you. In consulting, you can have 10 other people with whom you can chat about how to make the buck go a different way, right?
Yeah,
So,
so the dynamic nature, I mean, I totally hear you. In fact, that was my complaint about consulting, where you don't own anything, right?
yeah.
The dynamic nature is very similar. Like, it's like every day it's changing, and I was in strategy as well, and it was constantly changing. So
And it can range from a person on the team being unhappy
yeah,
and whom you want to make happy, right? Because
yeah,
you want the person to stick, to as big as one of the regulatory challenges you spoke about. A circular comes in the morning and everybody is scrambling, oh god, how does it affect my business model, and
yeah.
fielding calls from investors saying, are you guys still in the business? Yes, we are, so it can range this whole spectrum. I think the first thing as a founder, which is very, I think, which is my coolest asset, and I'm being very frank, I sleep very well. Whatever happens, I sleep extremely well. So I think as a founder, and I know many friends, right, who just struggle with getting, by sleeping very well, I mean they struggle to switch off, right? They struggle to completely, because startup is like your life. I can't, my wife hates me for this, but she also knows she shares my life with my startup. That's the best way to put it, right? and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
there is no turning off the switch. So it's quite important that you figure out how to give yourself downtime, because if you don't, it is a spiral which just goes on and on. And that's the also an important way to deal with adversity, just to know that life will go on, and but you can't stop and say, I will just 24/7 worry about it, because that won't lead to anything.
yeah.
That's the first thing. Second thing is, having a co-founder is really helpful. Akshata, I have always held the belief that 2 to 3 co-founders is the best team to make. You get to talk, you get to figure out things, and I'm not from the individual excellence school of thought, right, where that you can pull off everything. So that's the second. The third thing which helps me is that old trick of writing down what I'm grappling with, and once you do that, then the structured consulting mind leads to 3-step solutions, and that takes out a lot of anxiety from the situation.
I love how you say the structured consulting mind. Not forgotten your PCG days. So, okay. So tell me, like, obviously it's a startup, there's innovation, right? So how do you foster innovation creativity within your company? And how do you kind of make sure that you're innovative? And it's very easy for a startup to be disrupted by a big company,
Correct.
right? That's like always going on in the back of your head. People are taking ideas, doing all kinds of things. So how do you like foster that?
So Akshata, we took a very hard look at why are people staying with us, right? I'm being very frank. So I have got a 67% technology team now, people who code, etc. And we have just had two attritions in the last 2.5 years, and that's very surprising, right? Because from what you hear in the market, everybody is jumping shop and stuff like that. We
Yeah.
figured out one of the things that was a common trait that we heard across the board is everybody believed the what they are doing, they would take 5 to 10 years to do this at a larger company like Amazon, for example, right? So I think that so there are two ways we think we push innovation. One is, I think, we as founders are quite challenging on what is happening, and we keep questioning. And I know this sounds cliche, the status quo, right? It's very easy to just say, today we have 15 ops people and it's great, it's running, but why are there any ops people at all? Why is there this word called recon? And in fintech, recon is, I think it's the is the T-Rex of fintech. Everybody talks about recon, and it drives me crazy and up the wall. Why do you need recon if you have a system? There can be a bug, you solve the bug, but why is there this process called recon? And that's, for example, that's one of the examples which we keep pushing, right? We keep pushing, take out recon from here, everything is smooth. I think that's the key. How as a group you keep just saying this is not okay, how do I make this a 0% operation completely, right? So one of the other things which we challenge our leaders with is, why do we need to work at all? How can we make it, can we make it happen that that's something, that a customer comes on the web, the transaction happens and there's nobody involved. We
Yeah.
are just looking at stuff and we are happy, oh, this is going well. So I think that those are, again, very simple pragmatic tips. Sorry, I don't have a frameworkish answer to say how to drive innovation, because I don't think that works, right? Akshata, I've seen a lot of large companies, I won't name them, I'm sure you would have a list, who have all done frameworks for innovation. You think, some of the companies which died in the past 10 years haven't looked at innovation? That's not true, right? Each of
Yeah.
them has paid multi-million dollars to consulting companies to come up with this innovation framework, but
Yeah.
that just doesn't work. So yeah, that's where my thoughts on that are.
All right. So obviously you're in fintech, and
Yeah,
I've had so many years of banking and everything, right? So risk is one of the main things that
yeah.
this industry looks at, right? So how do you approach risk um, within your business?
So in my business, there are actually three, four kinds of risk, right? One is just the underwriting risk, or the product risk, so as to say, right? That for that, we do the usual modeling, AIML. We have got sorry,
Yeah.
experts with years of experience who who build the model, refine it with data and stuff like that. So that, I think, is pretty standard.
Yeah.
I think a couple of other risks which are very important to fintech is, one, the regulatory and the compliance risk, which we started with in the beginning. I think people do a very reactive job to that, right? They keep waiting for the regulation to happen,
Yeah.
they keep waiting for the compliance to drop and then react to it. I think, because of my co-founder's background, and Akshata, you have spoken with him earlier, what we do quite well is figure out which way is the wind blowing or the trend is, right? And we
Yeah.
are already prepping for quite a bunch of things which we think will come in the next 2 years, which I
Yeah.
think gives us a distinct edge over a bunch of other players who look at it saying when it will come, or who don't even have a sense of what is coming, right? so
Yeah.
so so that is one very proactive thing that we do. Again, as I said, I think that is our biggest moat, and I think, that's our approach to managing that kind of risk.
Yeah. So tell me, how has your business evolved since you first started? Obviously, you've grown a lot, right?
Yeah.
But how is it like evolved? Is it the number of people, the way your leadership styles change, or what? How has it evolved?
So, quite a loaded question. It has so many nuances
And I
to
asked the
this.
question to you specifically because you grew fast, so that's why.
Sorry. So, So on the business itself, Akshata, there has obviously been an evolution of the business model. As I told you, we started as a company which was just doing to work with a single player to fund their merchants, right? We were
Yeah.
not worried about how we will get a credit supply or to build the engine. As we evolved, we figured out this amazing problem where the true customers that we have are not our sourcing partners, they are banks and NBFCs. That was a major light bulb moment for us, right? Because then you build stuff differently. I think that was one. The second big evolution that has happened in our company is we have moved from being a lending platform to a tech platform. Now we have abstracted our tech platform to a place where other players can use my platform to do this kind of lending. That I think has been a major evolution. So, for example, this year, 50% of the profits we are making are coming from my tech business. They're not coming from my lending business. So, and in a couple of years, that could be as high as 70-80%, right? So evolving into the other journey has been done quite a bunch, right? You would have seen players raising anywhere from $1 million to $10 million to build a tech platform. We went the other way. We said we will be profitable, and during the journey, we build this tech platform. So that has been a serious evolution. And with that, I think the team mindset has also evolved, right? We were a team which was heavily focused on building the right risk, doing the right lending, and to a team which is now building the right tech. So that evolution has happened, and with that, I think on the leadership side, Akshata, what has happened is, uh, I and my co-founder were deeply involved in building this whole lending business out. Now, what has happened is two industry stalwarts, we will soon know the names, from Salesforce, etc. background, are coming in to build that tech platform with us and market that out. So with that happening, I and my co-founder now have bandwidth to build a complete financial ecosystem. For example, we are going to add investment layers to this. We have already started our P2P platform. We will also add mutual funds, FDs. We have already started insurance with other companies. We are thinking of now getting into insurance more deeply, because that is one sector which has not been digitalized enough. Even though there are players you would see with digital monikers, our experience has been really pathetic, looking at how digital. I'll give you an example, right? One of the large players we are working with. So we are an embedded platform, Akshata, right? So we don't have a portal. Our portal is our customers' portal. We
Yeah.
were doing a UAT with one of these insurance companies, and they said, "Guys, we need to see your portal." I said, "We discussed this 10 months ago that we are an embedded platform. How do I show you my portal?" But they said that's a legal requirement. I said, "Dude, how do I ask my 70 guys to print out a policy on their portal and then give it to you?" So
Yeah.
the point is, people, that's a sector again ripe for disruption from an embedded digital tech point of view. So that's another sector we will get into. So those are the plans we are moving along.
Yeah. So tell me a book or a mentor that has significantly influenced your journey so far.
always a tough question. So I think, it's more than entrepreneurship, right? I think the couple of, I'm basically a fiction reader, so I don't read non-fiction a lot.
I don't read
So
fiction ever. Like, this book I will
so
read end to end. I will never read a fiction book.
correct. So I think I will again give you an answer which I don't think you have heard before. My true inspiration lies with sci-fi, right? So I read a lot of sci-fi, and I think that is where I it helps me push boundaries on what is possible, right?
Right.
Today versus what is tomorrow. For example, when I was a kid, I would dream of, and it's a bit of a macabre dream. How do I create a pistol which has bullets which are directed right to the person it's going to hit? It's just a macabre thing, but the point is that's where my and sci-fi has stayed with me. I have read many of the things which now get made on Netflix way before. So I think that's where my inspiration is. How do we keep pushing to a place where now you read a lot about AI being disruptive and all that, but I think there is a place where we can. I think one of the dreams I have, Akshata, and sorry, this is not a dream, but it's something. Today, when you see a lot of fintechs talk about, they will speak about integration, right? They integrate with people, they integrate with banks. So Once chat GPT kind of generative AI stuff becomes ubiquitous,
Yeah.
the the whole integration piece will go away. There will be a chat GPT sitting at the bank, there will be a chat GPT sitting at the fintech. They will talk, because at the end of the day, API exchange is nothing but emailing data to each other in a certain format, and it
Yes.
will all go away. And
Yeah.
that's when, what will become really cool is you be your ability to ask the right question. It will no longer be important whether you know Java, whether you know Python. It's not important anymore. You just have to ask the right question, and that's where I think is that's why we are human, right? Because we ask the right question, and that's where I think the world is heading, and I would love to be a part of that world.
That's awesome. So tell me, what advice? This is our final question, and no more
Thank
questions.
you.
So, what advice would you give to someone who wants to start their own company? Would you advise them to start their own company, or would you say don't do this? No,
So,
I personally, I feel like my son, I never want to advise him to start companies and do all these things because I feel
but
like
why?
it's okay to have a good, comfortable life. They should not suffer like us.
I think so Akshada, here is where my head stands, right? I think you would have seen a lot of your senior relatives, right? And
Right.
the ones who have really lived long and lived happily are the ones with a purpose. That
Yeah.
purpose could be anywhere from doing their bank stuff to investing in stocks to actually doing something else with their life, right? So I think one of the funny conversations I keep having with people, I meet these young kids who all want to be founders and make money, right?
Yeah.
My point
Exactly.
is, guys, you have found your ikigai, right? You have found
Yeah.
something which you love, society loves, gets you paid, and all that. The four qu- qu- quadrant thing. Now you are saying at 27 years of age, you want to sell that to somebody else. What will you do for it with your life after that,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
so,
Exactly.
so for example,
Yeah.
now after 2.5 years, my startup is at a place where I enjoy going to work every day, because
Yeah.
we are going to talk about something which will push the envelope of where we are, right? It's no
Yeah.
longer just Excel sheets or ops. It has evolved to a real tech stack. So if that is what you want to do anyways, why would you want to sell your company and then find something else to do? I want to do this for the next 10 years, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's the charm of doing your own startup, Akshata, because you end up discovering something which you would want to do for long, right? Consulting at the end of the day is exciting, was exciting for sure, but after a while it gets to you, right? You make recommendations, some of them happen, some of them don't happen. You are not in anxious. This can be a really taxing 2 to 3 years journey for them, if to start with, right? And that is up to them to decide. But you should be able to, so for example, one of the reasons why it helps to be a founder at 41 is you have taken enough knocks in life to know able to deal with adversity, like the question you asked, and you need to have a downtime mechanism. You just can't go thinking I will wing it if it doesn't get winged at all. It's a real situation where you are the one who is going to make all the tough calls, and hence that is super important. Second is the ability to make calls. I
Yeah.
think I'm sure, Akshata, you would know this. HBR's second most read paper is how to get the monkey off your back, right? So
Yeah.
wherein it's all about how if you take 5 minutes to focus on an issue which has come to you, you 95% of the issues won't end up burdening you and slowing you down. I think
Yeah.
that becomes even more important when you actually do a startup. You will have so many things coming at you. If you can't focus in that micro minute and give enough attention to it, it will just keep piling up, which will lead to further anxiety. That's the second thing. Third thing is just being what in Hindi and India we call jugaad, being
Yeah.
able to figure out your way from a situation, right? For example, today morning, right, in this P2P platform, we have tied up with a partner who doesn't work on Sundays. So
Mhm.
on our platform, the investors earn earnings every single day, but
Mhm.
on Sundays, earnings they don't get posted because the partner is not working.
Yeah.
So my CFO told me that. I told him, that's the saying no is the easiest thing in the world. What can we do? Can we create a pipe wherein I said I am willing to upload the earnings. It's not an issue, right? Or it's a
Yeah.
Sunday, that's not a problem. But that being able to say not say no and be a dog with a bone is a very important part of being a founder. And the last thing, Akshata, which I think is the most challenging is, I think you also hinted at it.
Finally, it's back.
Thank God. And
Yeah.
and
I think
and
it's
the
my
last,
computer that is having all these issues. I think it's heated up because I've not shut it down for a while. That's how much I'm working.
yeah, technology has its own issues. So
Yeah.
Akshata, the last thing I had for founders is this whole self-doubt thing, right? There will be enough people who would put you in doubt, including your own family, right?
Yeah.
So for example, when I joined Snapdeal for the first time around, half my family was like, what is this guy doing, going from BCG to a company which nobody knows about, right?
Yeah.
So I think that self-doubt, you will have self-doubt, your family will have self-doubt, your friends will have self-doubt, and obviously your detractors will try to pin as much self-doubt as they can, right? Because that's the way, sorry to say, this world works. So
Yeah.
it's very important, and that's where, and there is no guarantee, right, that what if you don't have self-doubt you will succeed. You will definitely fail even then, right? But the point is, one is how many times can you pick back yourselves back up. So for example, Akshata, Jason Calacanis says in his book, that famous angel investment book, right, that
Yeah.
the way you make money is you do two three things. One is you first develop this whole network of people by investing small amounts, and
Yeah.
you connect with them. Then you double down, and that's when you make true money. And that is as much true of founder life as well.
Yeah.
The only problem, Akshata, is we are not in an altered carbon world, so our bodies only run that much right now. So you, and that's the difficult call, right? Can you, for example, I started up again at 40.
Yeah.
Is that somewhere that you can pick the pace up and do it? And that's a completely personal decision. I've seen so many people wanting to talk to people, right? Saying, I will talk to 20 people, I'll make a decision. That doesn't happen. That just doesn't work, doesn't happen. All those 20 people will be nice to you. If somebody is rough, they will show you true pro and con. But even then, you have to decide. You have to go with uh, the only thing I think, which should be a definite criteria for deciding, which I think a lot of people miss, is don't do something which is boring or run of the mill, or something which you have not studied for. For example, sorry, I'm saying this, but a laundry startup, I will never do it. Yeah, मतलब laundry का startup कौन करता है? मतलब you have to have that nuance की, that what I am going to build, it has to be complex enough. You have gone to a bloody IIT, gone to a bloody IIM, worked for BCG. You can't end up doing a laundry startup. That's not me, at least, right? So, so it's not against anybody who is doing it, but the point is, solve a real problem and make it fun. That I think is an important criteria.
Yeah, I hear you. So the reason, so actually, once I'd seen long time ago Paul Graham, who started Y Combinator, put
Yeah.
this on Twitter, and this was when I was very young in my 20s, and he said that he doesn't want his son to ever do a startup, and I wondered why. So today, now that I've gone through this whole journey of entrepreneurship and everything, and I feel like no, I will not advise my son to do this for sure. I mean, but I understand your point where your ikigai is important. You have to live with a purpose and things of that sort, but I feel like you can find purpose in other forms as well. You don't have to
Sure.
always find it in companies and trying to build companies, because otherwise you're just like, I mean, if it works, great. If it doesn't work, then I mean, plenty of startups fail as well, right? Then you're like,
99%.
yeah.
And Akshata,
99%, exactly.
unfortunately, I don't have talents like 90s Hindi movies, where to be able to play a guitar or to play great football or cricket, right? So you do, so you do where you think you can at least be one in 10,000, if not one in a hundred, or one in 1,000. So that's
Yeah,
the bet you got to make. If you can hike and climb mountains,
yeah.
let it be your purpose. No problem at all. But the point is, you asked a specific question on a distinct set of people who want to be founders. Yeah,
Yeah.
that, and that has to obviously come from within.
Yeah, that has to come from within. I totally hear you. I mean, I don't think you should be a founder just because everybody else is doing it. That doesn't work. It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
work at all.
Many of my friends call me. So I don't play poker, right? I don't play poker at all. But many of my friends call me the biggest gambler they know. I just dropped a cushy BCG career to say, I will do this. But
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's the call you make.
Yeah, that's the call you make. I totally hear you. But I mean, see, what you did from a BCG to a startup is still not like an uncharted territory, right? Like a lot of people would do that. It's still like your peers have done it. You
Yeah.
assume over is your peer, right? So that's why you basically have taken that route. But taking uncharted territories, I mean, for me, whenever I've said like I want to go do this, it has never worked out. But whenever I've said like I will just do this for like whatever, and then those things have worked out for me.
You're
So
right.
anyways, all right, perfect. So this was our time. I really enjoyed talking to you. I apologize for the technological issues we had. I haven't rebooted my computer for 3 4 days, so that's why we had this issue. But I really enjoyed talking to you, Ranjan, and I hope to see you soon sometime.
This was excellent. I really appreciate getting time on your podcast. And yeah, when you are in India, ping me if you have time. We can
Yeah,
definitely meet up.
I'm there only for 2 weeks, and we can talk offline and we can end
Yeah,
the podcast
sure.
for